Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my new chess series called BOM, standing for Beginners Opening Mistakes. So this is where I'm going to be analyzing the games of lower rated players in order to identify and correct their opening mistakes. And I'll try by all means not to copy any existing series of that nature on YouTube by only focusing on the opening mistakes which beginners make in the opening stage and not targeting the players' elos or their personalities or to guess their ratings. Okay, so I hope you will like this series, and so don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Let's get started. Alright, so here goes nothing. Our first two random guests are both rated around 700. And as you have noticed, I've turned on the eval bar so that you can have an idea on who is doing better and who is doing worse. Okay, so the white player goes by the nickname Sochik, never mind about the pronunciation. Then his black opponent goes by the name Messiah Zero. Like, really? Let's see what miracles this Messiah performed in this game. So white started with e4, my recommendation for lower rated players. Then the self-proclaimed Messiah played e5, my main recommendation for beginners as well. So knight to f3 was played, attacking the pawn on e5, right? And the Messiah defended it with knight c6. Great stuff. Then the game starts here. Pawn to d4. This is called the Scotch game, you guys. So while the Messiah took on d4, because what else can he do? Now, for the sake of beginners out there, this is still the Scotch game. It becomes the Scotch gambit if only white plays bishop c4, okay? But if they take, which white did in this game, this is still the Scotch game. Now pay attention. The most common move here, which higher rated opponents play, is knight to f6. Attacking the pawn, white's pawn cannot come to e5 because it can easily be chopped by our queen's knight. And don't be afraid of this pin. Bishop g5 is just a sheer waste of time because we can play h6 attacking the bishop, and if bishop h4, which they like doing, maintaining the pin, well, we can simply go pawn to g5 here. And this bishop has to retreat, after which we'll simply win the free pawn on e4. I mean, even if they don't retreat their bishop after pawn to h6, let's say if they take on f6, this even becomes better for black because now black can simply take the bishop with his queen, hence developing the queen which was doing nothing at the back rank. Plus, you can see that our queen and the knight is attacking this knight on d4. And so if they take your knight on c6, see the eval bar, things are just getting worse for white. We can simply take back with our d-pawn, develop our light squared bishop and castle long because that's what we want to do most of the times against the Scotch game, unless otherwise. Alright, so let's just see what happened in the game, and I hope you are taking notes. Anyways, white played d4 and the Messiah took on d4, was what else? After which white took back on d4 with his knight, and I just showed you what higher rated opponents play in this position. The other move that you will see them playing is bishop c5, which is my favorite because it puts an immediate pressure on this knight. I showed you the idea behind this move in the video that has popped up in the card above. Go and watch that after you finish watching this video. Well, the Messiah just went on to take on d4, which is not much of a stretch, but not the best option. Because by taking on d4, you are allowing white to be ahead in development. Beginners, this is what you want to avoid in chess. Your opponent has already developed two of his pieces while all your pieces are still sleeping at the back. So the first thing you need to keep in mind in the opening stage is fast piece development and avoid taking your opponent's pieces anyhow. Defend your attacked pieces with your other pieces. Anyways, this is when the Messiah played knight f6. Again, never develop your pieces in the line of attack, or simply never develop your pieces on squares where they can easily be attacked. That's a principle. Or leaving your items where they can easily be stolen. Anyways, after knight to f6, white played e5, which is the best move in this position. And guess what the Messiah played in this position? Knight g4. Let me show you a little trick, you guys. Whenever you want to make a move, always think of how safe your piece is going to be. So if I was the Messiah in this position, I would have waited to see if the g4 square is not guarded by any of white's pieces. And then I would have seen this queen, which is eyeing that g4 square. Or maybe the Messiah thought his d-pawn was already on d6. Even if black's pawn was already on d6, think of what you will eat next after playing knight g4. For example, if white plays pawn to h3, where is your knight going to go? Oh, knight h6. Yeah, but that will invite bishop takes on h6, and white will make you double up your pawns along the h file, which is not advisable in chess. So the Messiah played knight g4 here, donating his knight, forgetting that his light squared bishop was still blocked by the pawn. So if you want to stop forgetting, start exercising some patience and think about your piece safety before making a move. So number 1, piece safety. White took the Messiah's donkey, and again, the Messiah had so many moves that he could have played, but out of everything, he chose to be a good Samaritan and donated another piece. Bishop b4 check was clearly a blunder. After making this move, the Messiah resigned. So the problem with this Messiah is that he wasn't thinking about his opponent's moves. He was only thinking about his moves. That's not how we play chess, you guys. In fact, that's being selfish, even when it comes to real life. See, this bishop b4 move is a sign of lack of patience and 2, not thinking about your opponent's moves. If I was the Messiah, I would have played something like pawn to d6 in this position, because that indirectly attacks the queen on g4 and also paves way for my light squared bishop for any future development. And let's say after white plays queen g3, watch. The first thing that I need to think of in this position is not my move. No, now write this down. The first thing that you need to think of is your opponent's threats. Each time they make a move, do not think about what you should play first. Try to look for the squares that your opponent is targeting with their previous move. For example, after white plays queen g3, my job is to start identifying the squares which this queen is eyeballing. 1. The g7 square. So once I see this with my own eyeballs, I will not think of playing the move bishop e7, because that will hang the pawn on g7. So bishop e7 is out of the equation. Again, I would not think of playing bishop g4 because my bishop would be taken. I mean, white's queen is still covering all these highlighted squares. You can see for yourself. So it's all about coverage for this study, you guys. The best I can do here is to open up some lines with something like d takes e5. Yes, allowing white to take back, because what else can I do? This is check, right? And again, I'm not going to think of which move I should play. The first thing I'll think of is which squares is my opponent targeting with his previous move. Queen takes e5 is not just check, but this queen is still targeting my g7 pawn, my c7 pawn, and also covering all these highlighted squares, you guys. So that's one thing that you need to be keeping in mind. And again, if you block the check with your elbow, you're going to lose your eyeballs. Well, I'm just joking. Let me be serious. If you block the check with the bishop, well, that will hang the g7 pawn. So in the next video, I'm going to teach you how to calculate indirect moves. What do I mean? For example, if I block this check with my light squared bishop, well, white has an option to give me another check, hence winning a free pawn which is not defended. So this is one example of an indirect move to think of. So to avoid these kinds of blunders, you need to make sure that your pieces are well coordinated at each stage of the game. What I mean is, make sure that they are defending each other. They have to be moving in a chain form. For example, e4, you simply go e5. I want you to see how I'm going to be coordinating my pieces in the opening stage, making sure that every piece defends every piece. So white plays knight to f3. I protect that pawn. If they play d4, the first tension occurs where I need to make a decision. So I'll take on d4, and after they take back, I'm not thinking about my move once again. I'm thinking about what my opponent can do or which squares they are targeting. So I can see that this knight is eyeballing the c6 square, and I don't want to take white's knight, because by doing that, I'm just going to help him develop a piece that was doing nothing on its initial square. So now that I know white's best move, I'm going to think of what I should do. So right here, I'm going to play bishop c5. Now asking white to think of what I want to do to his knight. So again, if white takes my knight on c6, I'm not going to think of what I should play right away. I'm going to think of the squares that my opponent is targeting with his previous move. So this knight is attacking my queen, and of course there's nothing else that it is attacking. Should I take with my b pawn? Oh, now this is going to damage my pawns along the c file. I don't want to have doubled pawns along the c file. Should I take with my d pawn? Again, that would double up my pawns, not to mention that white will take away my right to castle after king takes d8, because the king cannot castle once it moves. So what should I do about my attacked queen on d8? I'm going to create a new threat, queen f6, wanting to mate on f2, which I know won't happen, but at best, I'm counter-attacking White's knight on c6. So if they play queen d2, again, I stop thinking about my move, but first I try to identify where my opponent's pieces are eyeballing. This queen is protecting the f2 pawn, so that stops me from capturing on f2. What else? I don't see any other threat. I think, let me take on c6. The problem is, if I take with my queen, I'm not allowing my other pieces to participate. My queen is not Rambo, a one-army soldier to be doing all the duties. Let another pawn do the job so that my light squared bishop can be opened, and maybe later on I can put my king to safety and start developing other pieces that are not yet developed, because that's what I'm supposed to be doing in the opening stage. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it for today. The big takeaway here is that each time your opponent makes a move, don't make a move. Don't think of your move next. Think of your opponent's previous move in terms of which squares their piece is covering, so you put others first before showing your cards. Anyways, you haven't seen anything. This is just the beginning of this episode. Let me know if you think this episode is great, and well, do subscribe to my channel if at all you haven't already, and remember to ring the bell icon so that you don't miss any of my future uploads. And as a way of encouraging me to keep on making more wonderful videos just like this one, be sure to hit the like button. So remember to put your opponent's interests first before putting yours. Thank you for watching this video. Until next time, may the great eyeballs be with you now and forever. Peace out.